Hey, what's up? This is gonna be my quarterly post about why social media is bad and how I'm gonna change my ways and my systems so I use social media less. In all seriousness though, I think especially after my NVIDIA GTC hackathons back to back, where there were 2 hours of just focused work, I seen how much I can create in that amount of time and how fun it was. I've been having this more this feeling that's like whenever I'm using social media, like post social media use, it feels much worse now because like in that amount of time I was scrolling on Instagram or YouTube shorts, I created like some really cool stuff. I have a lot of ideas. 'Cause I think that's one of the things that I've always just been good at. Just like do naturally, just form ideas for everything in my life, right? And it's crazy how if I take like a 1 hour session, right, of social media, and you can obviously like it's not gonna be one consecutive hour, so obviously broken up. But like if I take that session and just applied it to work on something, I could build a really cool foundation for a project and then build on top of it and all that. Especially if I was saying, okay, if my goal with this project isn't just to learn fundamentals, but just to get it out there, then that could use like a lot of cool agentic tools, like whether it's Curse and all that. Um I think that's something that's eating at me more. I really want to improve it. I don't know necessarily the way because I think one thing I was thinking about when I was doing a previous draft of this video was that during my internship, I had more of a craving to actually just create stuff and just read more and do more stuff because it was more consecutive, right? It's like one day would be it wouldn't be like one day I work on this, then the next day I'm just not working on stuff at all, and the next day I work on this. This is like I have my internship, I have the projects I'm working on, I have the research papers I'm looking into and all that. Same day, next day, same thing and all that. And it felt much more consecutive to the point where it just felt natural. I think that's the solution I have to like push myself towards. I guess that kind of goes to the idea of systems. And maybe my system is just off with how I'm working my projects. And I think that's largely because I've been thrown off because I've been focused on one thing and another thing. So I don't know if that's the answer. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. I think I just really want to create and read more. There's so many cool stuff out there. Like I remember, I just for honesty, this is like the fifth draft of this video, and in between drafts, I was looking on Twitter and I saw this really cool post about using social agents at CME for policy making and stuff like that. I'm like, that's a really cool paper. And I want to look at it. I think it'll be so much fun to learn from what they did and just like how it worked and all that. But then that's something like after this video, I'm probably gonna get time like, oh, I have to go study for my math midterm, and I'm going to try and like start building this up to study for that math midterm, and then midway through, I'll see like, oh yeah, let me just go on Instagram real quick to like see something, and I'll be there for like 10, 15, 30 minutes, right? And I think that's what sucks, and that's like the dilemma here. And even though I say systems, it's like I know my systems just can't be foolproof, especially when it comes to hectic seasons in school, because midterms are like the ultimate cannonball when it comes to systems because midterms don't have I haven't found a solid way to in a short time span to create a foolproof system for midterms because usually it's a matter of um throwing all my weight on one midterm then another midterm then another midterm, right? And that's not something that works really well with systems because you have to really be changing all the time. But who knows. um but I do think something I did want to talk about was that, in at least in the sense of coding, something that was really caught my eye a while back was that there's this startup from YC right now called Cloud Labs, and the way I understand it is that they're building IDE, or basically you do your code, and the IDE is going to be like, okay, you have the agentic workflow, so like the agents are doing the coding for you, and then you have something on the side for brain rot, so I could just be like videos. And I think the reason I thought it was interesting, because I know some people have like a negative reaction immediately, which makes sense, because like, how is this useful? I think number one, when you're doing it and like using cursor, there's a lot of time where there's nothing going on, right? Like obviously you can be thinking and planning, but then there's like short time spans where it's like the code is loading or the agents are doing their thing. And it's like, what do you really do during that time span? I think that's where it could be interesting because maybe it could allow you to like, okay, in those short time spans, you still feel engaged and you don't feel the need to go onto Instagram. And that could be something really cool. Maybe it's in the sense of ads, which is less cool. But I think that could be something that will be I'm interested to see like the outcome. Like, would that make people more addicted to building stuff? Because now you have your agentic build tools, and you have your addictive social media. So with like if you combine those and tandem with one another, how would that like really impact your mental state and like your want and need to build stuff, right? And I think that's something I'm interested in to see how it works. Because I also feel like if I doubt it'll be positive in my opinion, because I actually don't know. I think. I think it's tricky because on one hand I say like okay be really cool because it's gonna be like it takes that addictive sense of social media but also applies it here. But I think the downside is even when I try to do that, like sometimes on my social media feed I try and create it too as just like anime edits because anime edits are one of the coolest things for me because it's like I get more motivated to do stuff. But then what happens is that you kind of lose the workflow of what you're thinking versus lose the workflow of what you're thinking versus just like no edits, no social media when you just have a straight flow for like 2 to 3 hours, and that's much more productive. So with this, I don't know what the trade off is going to be. But who knows? Anyways, I had to work on a system that can adapt in a short amount of time to the cannonball that is midterms, because that's the one thing I struggle with, and that's why I think my social media use increases versus when I have a much more stable situation where it's like okay, I have a class here and there, and it's not just like anything. The stakes aren't too high for any one event in a day. I also have an interview that's coming up this week, so that's gonna be really exciting. With the video, so I really pray that it really goes well because I really love that company. I really love what they do, so I really want to be a part of it. But that's a whole other thing. But besides, I have nothing else to say. So have a great day.